Hey guys, I'm the Maha Mechanic, and today I'm going to be showing you how to replace the lights in your dash cluster on a 1998 Ford F-150. As you can see here, if you can see there, those lights are good. Those lights are not working on the speedometer, and half the lights on the tachometer are not working either. So we're going to fix that today. So let's get into it. So you want to first start off by removing this little trim panel here that goes around the steering wheel, all the way up and around. You just want to do that by getting your fingers under here and prying it out, just like this. And it'll pop out just like this. Take this out carefully. Slowly fish it away. Just like that. Now you can set this aside. Next, you're going to want to remove the center of the dash by getting your fingers under there or getting a plastic pry tool between there, just like that. And it should pop right out because it's only held in by a couple clicks. Just like that. Now there are some wires right here, so you can just set it here just like this. I have this right here to keep it up, but now you can get into bolts that you wouldn't usually be able to reach. Now using a 7mm socket, you can remove this bolt and this bolt down in here, that bolt right here, and this one right here. So let's do that now. Next, there are 3 bolts on the top of the dash right here. You're going to want to remove those and set them aside. Now that you got all your screws from up there off, you're going to remove this little switch panel by getting a screwdriver or a trim removal tool, and there's one more bolt hidden behind there that you're going to want to remove. There's also one more bolt up in here on the dark plastic. You're going to want to remove the one on the left right there. All the bolts connected to the dark plastic. So get your pry tool, get in between there, just like that. Once you got it pried out, remove it, and there's the bolt that you're going to be removing right in there. Get your 7mm in there. Alright, once you got that screw and that screw up there removed, and all the ones on here, those 2 right there, you can gently pry off this piece of the dash. Make sure not to snap anything. So, to make it easier on myself to take off this dash panel right here, I unhooked all of the connectors on the switch panel right here, and now I can freely move it without having to worry. Now that you remove this trim piece right here, you can now have access to these 4 bolts holding in the dash cluster, and there's one right there. So now you're going to want to remove those bolts. There you go. Now that you got all 4 of those bolts removed, the dash cluster should be able to move. So now, if you have an automatic, you're going to want to remove the gear selector here, and you do that. There's a little clip right here. Push that in and bring it down. It should come out just like that. There are some connectors on the back. Some connectors on the back right there. You're just going to unplug those so that you can get the dash cluster out. So just like that. Once you disconnect those 3 connectors in there and the gear selector, you'll be able to feed the dash cluster out through here. So if we flip it over, we can see right here, you can see all your labels for all of your lights. The ones that we're going to be replacing are these big ones. They are T10 bulbs. There's 5 of them. I got 194s, and we're going to swap those out real quick. Now to get these bulbs out right here, you're going to turn them counterclockwise, but they're really tight for your fingers. So you just grab some pliers and put them on there. Oh, like this, and they come out real easy. And just like this. So now we can start replacing these bulbs with our new one. Now swapping them out is pretty easy. Here's our old bulb, here's our new bulb. I just pulled the old bulb out of this little housing here, push the new bulb back in there, just like that, and then you can replace it. Get your pliers to lock them in there, just like that, and you're good. Do that for the other 4. I have some T5 bulbs right here that I'm going to use to replace some of these. It's the same process of twisting them out and replacing them. These aren't burnt out. I'm just replacing them anyway, but most of these over here are. So if some of the lights are burnt out in your dash on the top of the speedometer, these 2 little T5 bulbs up here, those are your culprit. I put it back in and I noticed that the top bulbs were not lighting up when it was dark outside. So I just cracked it back open, and all the ones that have the ILL, I'm guessing it stands for like illumination or something, all of those ones are the ones that light up green in your dash. So if you're missing any green lights in the top of your speedometer, these 2 are what you need to replace. I'm also replacing the door ajar and battery voltage one with red LEDs. I also did low wash with red LEDs just so I could swap in new bulbs for up here. And yeah, I'll give you a final product at night when I put it back in. So now that you got all your bulbs back in, you can start putting everything back together. So start by fishing this back through the dash area up in here, and then connecting all your connectors. So fish it back in, take your connectors and plug those back in where they came from. There's 1, there's 2, and there's 3. So fish it back there, grab your gear selector. So I just fish it around. There's a little slit up in there to line you up. You're just going to push it back up and in. Okay, that side clicked. Now I need this side to click. There you go. Market selector is back in place. Now that you got the dash cluster all wired up again, and you got the gear selector hooked up, you can start reinstalling your bolts here and tightening down the dash cluster again. It is also a good idea to test the lights, but I'm just going to plug this back in and test them to make sure they actually work. So just plugged them in. It's daytime out here, but you can see that one on the speedometer works now, just like that. Those ones work. They all work. Now that you got your bolts replaced, we can put back in our trim piece and our switch panel. So let's do that now. Grab our trim piece, fish it back in there. Once you got it in, like this. You're gonna want to push these up on here. There's clips. Clip it back on like that. Make sure there's a little tab back in there, a little nub. You can see right there's a little nub. That has a designated hole it goes through. There you go. See, now it's through that hole right there. Little nub, if it'll focus. Anyway, that's what holds these in. And now that it's all up there, we can start replacing all our bolts. Don't forget the one in the switch panel. So let's do that now. Now that you got that bolt in over there, you can plug in your switches again and then pop them back into the dash panel. So just plug them in just like this. There we go. Grab this one. There you go. Now we can pop it back in here. And there's our switch panel back installed. Now let's continue putting in our bolts around this dash panel. And there you go. Now that you got all your bolts back in, all around there and in there, we can start putting back together our trim panels that we took off. This back in. Just like that. Get this piece and feed it around the steering wheel. Feed it down in there. Just like that. Like this. And then make sure the holes are lined up. And then pop in the clips again. And there you go. Now you got all your trim panels back in. You're done. Here are the lights at night. And you can see, sorry I don't have a original comparison for you, but all of these lights from here on to from half the speedometer to the tachometer, they were all burnt out. So these look great now. And over here, those red ones, the voltage, battery right there, and the oil temperature gauge or warning lights or whatnot, those are replaced with red LEDs, and those ones are looking pretty bright. That looks good. If you found this video informative, please be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel for more. And remember, no matter your experience or your skill level, keep on improving.